It's 3:30.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for today's annual President's Address. Please take this time to silence your mobile devices. As you come into the room, it's a very crowded room. There is seating on the risers at the far end of the room. Now is a good time to take your seats, and our program will begin shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, good afternoon and welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, good afternoon and welcome. Now, please welcome to the stage Dr. Norm Beauchamp.
It is surely impolite to name drop. I won't do it, not even in front of a crowd as distinguished as this. But what I will do is word drop, and I'll ask you to join me. The word that I want to drop is interim. So here I go, the president of the University of Washington, Anna Marie Cauce. That definitely sounds awesome. Awesome. Importantly, the ability to name drop was made possible by all of you. As a member of the Faculty Senate, as someone who works closely with the students, with the faculty, with the staff, with the administration, and with the community, it was absolutely awe-inspiring to see the great respect the great admiration that's held for you, how trusted you are, and how appreciated you are. It was really amazing. She was the clear choice to be our president. Thank you, Search Committee. Thank you, Regents. Thank you, everyone here who made your voices loud and clear so that we could make the right choice. I can say there was not a person in the room last night when the announcement was made that didn't say that this moment will affect the future of the University of Washington for decades to come. How does such success happen? I think it was nicely captured by Swani Savanda. It is so embodied by Anna Mari. To put your heart, your mind, and your soul into your smallest acts, this is the secret of success. And clearly, she embodies that with everything that she does. This can be traced actually to her childhood. She was born in Cuba, where her father was the Minister of Education. When she was just 3 years old, her life was disrupted by a revolution. They had to leave Cuba. Her parents had to take jobs in a shoe factory. This period instilled in her a commitment to the importance of education, to accessible education, and empathy for those that struggle. Anna Mari joined the UW faculty in 1986 as an assistant professor of psychology after earning degrees in English and psychology from the University of Miami in 1977, and a PhD in psychology at Yale with a concentration in child clinical and community psychology. She currently is a professor in psychology in American Ethnic Studies with secondary appointments in the Department of Gender, Women, and Sexuality Studies and in the College of Education. Amazingly, given all that she does, she maintains an active research program focusing on adolescent development with a special emphasis on at-risk youth. She's also a strong advocate for women and underrepresented minorities to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. In addition to her commitment to research, she remains committed to education and hasn't left the classroom since she joined the faculty 29 years ago. She is at her heart a faculty member. During the course of her career, she's had numerous leadership roles. She's been the director of the UW Honors Program, chair of American Ethnic Studies, chair of psychology, executive vice provost, and dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. In 2011, she was named provost responsible for overseeing the education, research, and service mission of the university schools, colleges, and other academic units. For her teaching, scholarship, and advocacy, I'll just share a few of the awards she's received. It's really so impressive. The Dalmas Taylor Distinguished Contribution Award, the Luis Fernando Esteban Public Service Award, the James M. Jones Lifetime Achievement Award of the American Psychological Association, the Grace Hopper Exemplary Leadership Award, and the Distinguished Contribution Award from the Society for Community Research and Action. In 1999, she was awarded the Distinguished Teaching Award, the highest honor the University of Washington gives to faculty members. In going through my preparation for today and thinking about how Anna Mari continues to be asked to do more, an aphorism by Francis of Assisi comes to mind. Start by doing what is necessary, then do what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. When I think about the boundlessness of the University of Washington, again, no one characterizes it better. And then finally, I'd like to conclude my introduction with comments from some people that know Anna Mari the best. Kate O'Neill comments that Anna Mari is deeply serious but lighthearted. She is tireless in her work on behalf of others, but still makes time to hang out and laugh. Jerry Baldesty states, Anna Mari truly values our students and enjoys being with them, talking, listening, discussing with them, learning from them. She also inspires all of us to do our best work for UW faculty, staff, and students. Mary Lidstrom states, Anna Mari has that rare combination of strong principles and the courage to stand by them. And then finally, from Lenina Arenas Fuentes, where Lenina said to Anna Mari, when Anna Mari was appointed to be interim president, she said, I will do all I can to support you being successful. Anna Mari stopped her and exclaimed, no, and pointing out the window to the rest of the university, she said, we work for them. We work for them. And so please join me in welcoming our president, who is here to work for us, but to also show that we are here to work for her. Congrats. You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. At the risk of starting by being a prima donna, I'm going to need some tissue. Oh, thank you so much, Norm. It's going to be such a pleasure working with you and with all of Faculty Senate. We have a really ambitious agenda, and I really look forward to moving ahead. I'm not someone that's short for words, but wow. It really is a tremendous honor to be selected to be president of the University of Washington. This place has really changed my life, and it truly is humbling to be given this opportunity. I want to join Norm in thanking the search committee. I want to assure you that they put me through my paces and kept me on my toes, but I especially want to thank the regents. At a time when regents and trustees at other universities seem to be expressing distrust in the academy and in its faculty's ability to run things, our regents, and we have three of them here today, Rogelio Riojas, Joanne Harrell, and Jeremy Jake, they've really shown a confidence, not just in faculty leadership in general, but in the leadership of this university. Because this wasn't just a vote of confidence in me. It's a vote of confidence in us. Thank you. I heard today from my academic and in many ways my life mentor, Edmund Gordon, and he taught me the importance of what he called stepping up. Bill Gates Sr., who's here today, and whom I also consider a mentor, talks about showing up. And my mother, she always said, put one foot in front of the other, and before you know it, you've arrived. Although, come to think of it, she never told me where that was. And so I never envisioned that my path here at the university would lead me to this place. When I stood on Red Square and saw a mountain for the first time, it was about 30 years ago, this January, I would have never thought that I would be here. But I do take very seriously the notion of being fully in the journey and of always walking forward, even when your destination isn't clear to you. You put all those small steps together, you take that occasional leap. Sometimes you have no idea where the next foothold will be, and sometimes you feel like falling because guess what, you are. But you keep on picking yourself up, you keep moving, and you end up someplace that you never thought you were going. And when you get there, it seems just right. Now, it's the same way with research, discovery, inquiry. Some of our greatest discoveries come from what seems to be a fortuitous convergence of forces, happenstance, opportunities that lead to something different, to something greater than we'd ever imagined. And so I'm here today humbled by a responsibility and, yes, by a privilege that's greater than anything I could have imagined on behalf of a university that I really love, that I grew up in, a university that's truly changing the world. And you know what? It feels just right. And the fact that I've shared this journey with so many of you, I see so many people out there from various stages in my life and my career, that's what makes it truly special. Because this isn't my university. This is your university. This is our university. I promised at last... Yeah, come on. You know, I promised last spring, I promised the Regents that we would not skip a beat during the presidential transition. And I hope we don't have one for a very long time. And you were the ones who delivered on that promise that I made. You're the ones who make things happen. Just walk around this university. You can feel that sense of momentum, of excitement. We just welcomed to Seattle, Bothell, and Tacoma the largest first-year undergraduate class in the history of our university. Also joining us are a really terrific group of transfer students from across the state, along with outstanding graduate and professional students. And these students are full of energy, of potential, of determination. They're innovators and volunteers, nerds with a proud N and geeks with a capital G. And if you see yourself in that, you're part of my tribe. Geek is the new chic. You're artists and athletes, entrepreneurs and engineers, driven to dance, to discover, to dare. Students, you're the leaders of the future. Your hopes, your dreams, your energy, what you learn here, the work you do here will shape and create the future for all of us. And we're so thrilled that you chose this as your community. We knew you were smart when we accepted you. I also want to welcome the almost 300 new faculty that joined our university this year from across the nation and across the world. You and your colleagues are the reason that so many promising students want to study here. And to all our newcomers, including our very dedicated staff, they arrive throughout the year. This is a community that you can belong to for the rest of your lives. We're all interconnected as alumni, faculty, staff, students, supporters, sharing what I like to call this wonderful purple thread. My most recent graduate student mentee, he graduated the year before last, Rick Cruz, is now an assistant professor at Utah State. He's working on a research study with one of my very first graduate students, Nancy Gonzalez, who's now an endowed full professor at Arizona State. He's also on the faculty with one of my former postdocs, recently promoted to full professor, Melanie Dominique Rodriguez. And the person that I worked with most closely as we put together the grant that supported the project is Rand Conger, a distinguished professor from UC Davis who received his degree in our sociology department and is a proud alum. Talk about a long purple thread. You know, together this group and their students and colleagues, building on the education and the work they did right here, they're reshaping the way we do research intervention and mental health treatment with at-risk Latinos. That's what a family does. That's what community is. And that research that starts here, that research that we do and gets pushed out to universities really across the world, continues to impact the world in really transformative ways. I was so pleased last week to join the Institute of Health Metrics evaluation when they received the Outstanding Global Health Organization Award. Did any of you know? I didn't know until that night that we have 167 organizations in our region working on global health issues, and almost all of them have a collaboration with UW faculty and with dozens of our departments. When I say that we're changing the world, I mean it. We're also really pleased to be moving full steam ahead on our medical school expansion in Spokane. This is a tremendous opportunity for the people of Spokane and throughout Eastern Washington, and really for all of us. So much momentum. But we still have a long way to go. This session, this legislative session, we saw a big investment in access with historic tuition reductions. Next session, we'll be seeking a clear investment in excellence with an emphasis on accelerating progress on improving faculty salaries, because it's top faculty that make us excellence and that make our promising students come here. We have to continue to focus on both access and excellence. We don't want one at the expense of the other. Our philanthropic partners contribute so much to our momentum and impact. We have friends across the region. You may have heard the fabulous news coming from our School of Social Work. Steve and Connie Ballmer have committed a little over $30 million to the school in recent years, and earlier this month, they announced a really extraordinary investment in scholarships so that students could pursue a career in social work without incurring the kind of debt that's really out of proportion to the salaries in those fields. And generosity like this contributes directly to the excellence of our university. And we see that kind of donor support in areas, research and teaching in almost any discipline, Alzheimer research, our spectacular arts and music programs, our outstanding human rights centers. Our friends are very important to us. And one of the most positive joys for me has been getting to know the individuals who care so deeply about our university, its ability to change and to save lives, to create a world of good. We've also planted a seed on innovation, and it's really sprouted. From expanding enrollments in computer science, to the reshaping of Commotion, to the historic launch of the Global Innovation Exchange, and in just a few weeks, we're having an innovation summit in Shanghai. We're staking a worldwide claim to innovation for the UW and for our whole region. When we were ranked number 4 in the world by Reuters, behind number 4 in the world, behind a few little places like Stanford, Harvard, and MIT. You have to believe that the world, and I really do mean the world, has finally taken notice. The best kept secret of the Pacific Northwest, guess what, guys? It's out. Now, when I interviewed with the regents, I told them that if I became permanent president, or at least interim president for a very long time, I didn't envision fundamentally changing the course of the university. You have made this one of the greatest public universities in the world. Our status, our reputation is well earned. But while we're not looking for a 180-degree turn, our greatest enemy would be complacency. If we stand still, we slide backwards. So the work continues. And in a world where change is all around us and going faster and faster, we have to tackle our work with a sense of urgency. I see the role of public education as one of breaking down boundaries and breaking through barriers. We can and we should appreciate and learn from our differences. That's why the Race and Equity Initiative we began last year from this very place is so important. We want to remove barriers that limit who we can become as individuals, but also as a community. That's part of what being boundless is all about. So I'm going to talk a bit today about the ways we do that and the ways we continue to do that through our student experience, our focus on innovation, on our research and scholarship, scaling it in ways that truly transform the world. I'm also going to talk about a couple of additional points that make all of these things possible. The work we do on behalf of our state and about our university culture. Now, it bears repeating again, we have fabulous students. And we do. I mean, just look at our alumni and where they go. I'm going to give a shout out to Sheila Edwards-Lang, whom we launched onto a new path this spring. In case you didn't know, she's a UW alum, and she's now presiding over Seattle Central Community College, and I'm really looking forward to working with her as a peer. It's going to be fun. The University of Washington in Bothell, Tacoma, Seattle, or Spokane is really a place where students of modest means can, with your guidance, with your mentorship, become truly masters of the universe. And in a world where too many people close the door behind them when they achieve success, I'm proud that we have the kind of culture that instills in so many of our students a desire to help others follow in their footsteps. Students like Maylee Powell, a junior from Seattle. She lost her mother when she was in high school, and she credits the DREAM Project for helping her focus on her work through that loss, for helping her find her path. She became a volunteer for the DREAM Project and is now one of its leaders, helping other students find and follow their own paths. And that's really a perfect story of how public universities can break down the barriers that hold back far too many of our society's truly most promising young people. Our university really does combine access and excellence, two aspects of education that too often are portrayed as dichotomous choices. But it's a false dichotomy. That's why you're not going to hear me talking about chasing an extra 0.1 GPA or slightly higher test scores. You're not going to hear me talk about chasing ratings that give you points for selectivity. Selectivity means how many applicants we deny. And we already turn down too many. And turning down more will never be one of my pride points. That's not who we are. We want to be a place, we are a place sought out by do-gooders, change makers, innovators. When students come here, they find a place where faculty are leading the way in breaking down boundaries between experiences inside and outside the classroom, in mentoring sessions with a professor or a TA, in a residence hall where she can go downstairs and work in a makerspace. And if you haven't seen the makerspaces in our residence hall, they are amazing. They can intern in a Seattle startup or engage in fabulous study abroad. And we're going to continue to invest in this which we call the Husky experience to support all that goes on in our classrooms with a very strong focus on identifying and nurturing transferable skills that will enrich each student's success in their careers, but even more importantly, throughout their lives. This drive to break through barriers, to push the envelope, also applies to our research, to our scholarship, to our art, to our performance. Our faculty push boundaries of disciplines and discovery and create a place where all are encouraged to take risks, to explore, to go wherever their imaginations may lead them. Just this year, UW researchers linked 2 human brains over the internet. They used 3D printing to help surgeons fashion new ears for children where one is missing or underdeveloped. They tracked poached ivory in Africa. They rethought poetry for the digital age. And they mapped the history of American activism. Professors at UW-Bothell discovered a new geometrical pattern of irregular pentagons that could have applications for self-assembly machines. Researchers at UW-Tacoma developed an analytics tool that predicts with an over 80% accuracy the chance that a patient will be readmitted to a hospital within 30 days. Our work improving health here and around the world, whether it's using big data to portray the impacts of disease in developing nations or providing charitable care to the underserved right here in King County, our work transcends every boundary imaginable: cultural, economic, technological, geographical, even political. And it involves every single aspect of our university, from the Jackson to Evans schools, to public health, and of course to our School of Medicine and our hospitals. Our hospitals and the links between them, and by the way, we have 3, really shone through when they were coming at the aid of students after the Aurora Bridge tragedy. It took our Harborview Trauma Center, our School of Medicine Hospital, and the outpatient care at Northwest Hospital working together to ensure that they had the best possible care. Research universities like ours also break down boundaries between research and teaching. They're not mutually exclusive. They're not in opposition to each other, as some of our colleagues at other universities say, not that I'll mention any of them. At a university like ours, they're absolutely interdependent. Some of our very best teaching, some of my very best teaching, has happened when students stand shoulder to shoulder with faculty in the lab or in performance halls. That's also true for the boundaries between teaching and service, or between research and service. We've greatly expanded the number of service learning opportunities that we offer, so students can learn by doing. And some of our most important research focuses on assessing the effects of service and policy so they can be improved. Teaching, research, service. It's not always clear where one begins and the other ends. It's truly a virtuous cycle. And all of this takes place in an environment dedicated to innovation in the most inclusive sense, inspired by this region we call home. We talk a lot about innovations coming from wedding science and technology, mobile medicine. Let me see. No, I don't have tuberculosis. Good thing. Or you can censor your households to control your energy consumption. We call this innovation the innovation imperative, and we've taken big steps forward, creating commotion, securing a down payment on the expansion of computer science and engineering, and bringing university innovators together, whether in a hacker house, in the U District, or in Shanghai. But innovation isn't just found in the STEM disciplines. A couple of years ago, we launched a musical theater program drawing together our world-class dance, drama, and music programs. And that's innovation too. It's in every discipline, from medieval history to global health. Every new idea is an innovation, and we want those innovations to have impact, to make a difference in the world. And so we're going to continue our work with nonprofit, state, and corporate partners to build this innovation ecosystem so that the next generation of innovators, they'll come and they'll sustain it for the future. Now, I know how important the work on all our campuses and across the state is. I have a feeling that you know it too. But one of the things I've learned during this interim period is that there's some people, even in our own state, who don't understand how the work we do here every day makes our state and world better. That the surgery that saved their daughter's life might have been first introduced or even conducted by a UW-trained physician. Many people don't know that we give degrees to more Washington undergraduates than all the other Washington universities combined. And these students, whether they came from our state or abroad, they'll someday teach their children. They'll provide our state and their neighbors with needed social services. They'll be the leaders and the workforce for our large businesses like Microsoft, Boeing, Starbucks, and Amazon, but also to a whole range of smaller startups that rely on them to make this a thriving and creative region. Many don't fully appreciate that the breadth and depth of our community engagement is greater than that of virtually any other university on the planet. We do millions of dollars in charitable care. We have students deeply engaged in service in all parts of our state. We have thousands of students in K-12 who come to our campus regularly to learn about natural science, history, culture. They attend free music and arts programs. They attend science and math camps. We are the university for Washington. We serve all of Washington. And I'm going to be asking you to help me make sure that our neighbors, that our legislators understand this, that they see the University of Washington through our eyes, that they really see what we do here. And as we do that, I want to ask all of us to recommit to that great public mission that is absolutely and will always be at the core of who we are. That applause is for us. Now, some of you may remember I used to call myself the provost of socks and underwear. Now I'm adding a little bit of lipstick, maybe the occasional skirt, because I'm president. But you also know that my focus is actually not so much on style, all my taste is in my mouth, but on I like to focus on actually getting things done. So over the summer, Provost Jerry Baldesty, who I thought was going to buy a few new ties. Jerry, come on. Provost Baldesty and his team began working on what we're calling transforming administration. Administrative units, or what I prefer to call them because it's what they really are, academic support units, mine included, exist to serve our academic and research units, to support the work of our faculty and our students. Our redeployment of administrative resources, for example, to support childcare, and the significant work that we're doing on upgrading our payroll systems are just a couple of examples of how we're transforming to better serve you. Jerry and the team leading this project have identified several dozen projects to gain efficiencies, to improve our operations, and to redeploy resources to their highest use on behalf of the academic mission. Our work is to facilitate your work, and we can and we will do better. We owe that to you. So I'd like to conclude today's remarks where I started, with us as a community and that boundless purple thread. If we can commit to working together to nurture that culture, to cross borders and transcend differences and pull together, then we will continue to make progress on the big, messy, hairy, complex work we do together in the service of others in pursuit of our public mission. My aim isn't to start a bunch of new things and do them in small ways. Instead, let's use our culture, our way of working together, to make real progress on the big things that truly make a difference. It's our culture that makes the complexity of this university not a weakness, but a strength. It's what pushes us to take risks so that we can make an impact on the grand challenges facing us all. And that's what it's all about. Sometimes there will be points of tension, but rather than pulling at each other, let's try to pull together. This summer I spent some time, this glorious summer, on San Juan Island, where the College of the Environment operates a field station, Friday Harbor Labs. At one of the many lectures and events that the lab takes out into the community, I heard Susan Middleton, an award-winning photographer whose work was displayed at the local museum. For years, she spent parts of her summer at the labs, inspired by its scientists. They introduced her to the countless small invertebrate creatures in our oceans. Most of these are tiny. They're not much to look at upon first glance. Yet, they're the origins, the bedrock of life on our planet. In Middleton's exhibit called Spineless, large, majestic portraits give these tiny beings the dignity and status that they truly deserve. So, armed with this new knowledge, my frequent contemplative beach walks and tide pooling uncovered a whole new wonderland. I no longer focused on the warmth of the water or the boats or even the whales that might be on the horizon. Instead, I looked down at the amazing biodiversity below me, at life forms I'd been oblivious to. This new knowledge that I'd gather broke down the boundary between art and science, and I saw the ocean's beauty in a whole new way. Now, anyone who visited me this summer had to join in, from our best friend's 80-plus-year-old mother to our 17-month-old grandniece. I'll never forget the look of delight and wonder on her face as she watched a tiny sand crab swim right between her legs as she crouched down in the shallow water. It was that same look that I saw on the faces of our scientists and students when I visited Friday Harbor Labs, where they turn wonder into discovery and then apply it to real-world problems. That's who we are. We nurture wonder. That wonder becomes curiosity, which leads to our discoveries. And that, in turn, becomes the innovations that change our world. That wonder is literally life-saving for our bodies and for our souls. Thank you for your trust and support. But more importantly, thank you for breaking down boundaries by sharing your sense of wonder with our students, our state, and our world. Thank you. Thank you so much. I got a few questions that came in over the internet, but first, let me take some questions from the floor. Okay, then I'll go ahead and start with this first one. The tuition reduction was great for Washington undergrads. What do you think the chances are of that happening again? Or of a tuition cut for graduate students or out-of-state students? All right, well, good question. As I said in my talk, I am really proud that our state stepped up to these tuition reductions, that they really focused on higher education. My focus is on access. Tuition reductions really helped our middle-class students, absolutely no doubt. But as I said earlier, when I go back to the legislative session next time, I'm going to focus on excellence. Our faculty salaries are too far behind for us to feel confident that we can keep our best faculty here. Then the following session, we can go to access again. And yes, I think it's very important. One thing that's really nice about having undergraduates come out with less debt is then they can go to graduate school with less debt dragging behind them. But yes, do we have some work to do in some of our graduate programs to bring down tuition? Absolutely. And would it be nice to bring down tuition, particularly for out-of-state students that are of low socioeconomic background? Absolutely. But I'm just going to be honest with you. Next session, I'm focusing on excellence. Then we'll get back to access. I'm not going to lie to you.
Hello, my name's Gordon. I'm from the Department of Physics, and I'm feeling rather underdressed in this particular section here.
You look perfect just the way you are, Gordon.
Professor of socks and underwear. One of the reasons I came to this university back in 1999 was because of the students. Both the undergraduates and the graduates here are amazing. We've had alumni from here go on, many of them, especially from the graduate school, to be professors. The Nobel Prize, the Physics Nobel Prize, we had a significant group here at the University of Washington who worked on that. The Neutrino Nobel Prize just announced. And you talked about having the largest undergraduate class this year that we've ever had. The physics department's undergraduate, the undergraduate class in the physics department is the largest in the nation. Wow. The closest one is at the University of Maryland, and it's significant, not significantly, but it's smaller. This is great. I mean, I love this. Part of what we do in the physics department with our undergraduates is they have to do research with us professors in order to get their degree. There is, of course, a bit of a flip side, and that is something I'm hoping that you'll be able to address as your tenure here as permanent president. Things are getting crowded. There's competition for classrooms, just trying to allocate classrooms. We're thinking of, at times there have been conversations of converting some research space into undergraduate lab space to make sure undergraduates get their proper practical training. We're changing the mix of the department of professors versus lecturers in order to try and accommodate some of these new folks, given that the budgets are not changing. So I hope that as you work on excellence and also access, you will work on the flip side of the access, which is excellence, but also more excellence, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon, I want to say one thing because I think it's important that for me, for us, access isn't just how many students we let in. It really has to be about then that they can get the majors that they want and that they graduate. Because I think that sometimes we just focus on who do you let in, and it really is about who you graduate. Sometimes when you talked about some of the growth problems in your department, remind me a little bit about some of the conversations about growth in our region. And part of my thought about that is it's a lot like aging. The only worst thing is the alternative.
The alternative, right.
You know, I mean, I'd rather be in a department having problems of growth than the other way around. Part of the Transforming Administration Initiative, part of the Husky Experience Initiative that Provost Baldesty is leading up is about classroom efficiencies. We do need, for example, we desperately need a new biology building, a new life sciences building, and we very much need a new computer science and engineering building so that we can expand, no question. But every time that we build a new building, it's very expensive. So we want to make sure that we're using the spaces we have absolutely as effectively as we can. We also have a group of faculty that I know that you're at least part of, which are looking at new ways to teach, the flipping the classroom work that we're doing that allows us to do things in a big way, but in a way that's still personal. You know, when we talk about innovation and we talk about the schools that we're behind, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, I suspect we graduate more students than all of them together. When we do things here, we do them at scale, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about that. Doing things big is, the world is big, and the world is complicated, and when we figure out those problems here, we're in a much better position to bring them out there. So understand the issues, we're working on them together. It also is part of why we hired 300 new faculty. But I'm not trying to at all say that they're not complicated, that they're not difficult, and you know, I really appreciate the work that so many of our faculty are doing. I know one faculty member who, and please, the fire folks, you know, close your ears for a second. He has folding chairs in his office that he brings into the classroom. I know how hard you're working to accommodate our students, and we'll work with you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Alexis?
Alexis Harrison, Sociology. You've expressed some concerns around faculty unionization, and I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about what those concerns are.
Okay. I got asked that question this morning at KUOW, and it was kind of unexpected, so it's a little bit more expected now. I want to start off by making absolutely clear that I am very pro-labor and pro-union. I got my first union card when I was 16. I was a clerk in a supermarket, and I know that the conditions there around breaks, et cetera, had everything to do with the union. Some of you know that next to my spouse, the person I love and admire most in the world is my brother, and he was a labor union organizer. On this campus, we have about 16,000 employees that are represented by about 11 unions. And I have every desire to continue to work with them well, in fact, to work with them better. And we've been talking about some ways of doing that. There is no question that I am pro-labor and pro-union. I just happen to think that faculty are slightly different than employees. You know, I talked about our culture. It's interesting that some of the same faculty who have been talking for years about how faculty are different are now talking about basically making faculty into employees and making me into administration. As you know, I teach, I do research, I came up with the ranks. I'm not them, I'm us. And Now, that isn't to say that we don't have problems. Gordon, you presented some of the problems of growth that we have. We absolutely need to make the career paths of our non-tenured track faculty more stable. I believe that the working conditions of our faculty, all our faculty, are the learning conditions of our students. We've been working and making good progress on the non-tenured track faculty, on our instructional faculty, and making career paths for them. In fact, the AAUP in 2013 gave me an award as a friend of the faculty for the work that we were doing on behalf of our instructional faculty. That work needs to continue. The work that we've been doing on a faculty salary policy that would really take us into a new century needs to continue. It's going slower than I'd like, but not because of balking on the part of the administration. It's going slowly because we're such a diverse and complex place, so that issues around whether it's salary or workload are very different if you're talking about the radiology department as compared to the psychology department, as compared to dentistry, as compared to the English department. We are very complex, which is one of the reasons why I have severe reservations, why I don't think that one faculty union representing us all can really honor that incredible diversity that we have. And there's no other university this diverse and this complex that has one faculty union. So I do have reservations, and I don't think it's a good idea. I think we, as faculty in shared governance, I mean, that's another issue, is that power is distributed amongst the faculty. It doesn't all, come to me or to Provost Baldesty. Guess what? The biggest management decisions that we make are made by, I don't hire anybody. I don't hire one, actually not anybody. I do not hire one faculty member. Those decisions are made in departments working together. Yes, I approve them. I don't tenure or promote a faculty member. I don't say, hey, I really like you. Come on, let's go get tenured. It doesn't work that way. Power is distributed. In fact, just to show you that, it's not just an anti-union thing, one of the strongest pro-union advocates for adjunct faculty in the community colleges has been working very hard to make sure that we don't have just one union for tenure track faculty and non-tenure track faculty, because he doesn't think that that can work together. I believe with all my heart, and I think if you look at the progress that's been made working together in shared governance over the last 5 years. We won an award, by the way, for having one of the most transparent tenure policies in the country. That was work that we did together in Faculty Senate. And when we do it in Faculty Senate, it's not just that we do it together, we do it openly. Our meetings are open. Anyone can come. There are, you can put in cameras if you want, rather than, quite frankly, unions do them behind closed doors. That's just the way it works. So, in a nutshell, sorry, I get passionate about it because I do think it's about our culture. It's about having our culture of working together, moving together without a third party in the middle of it. So. Now, do you want to know how I really feel? Okay, let me take a question from Tacoma. Tyler Ledger and Christine De La Vecchia ask, Tacoma is in the midst of rapid growth. Where are some of the future goals you have set out for UW in general and growth of UW-Tacoma? As I think that most of the people in this room know, and most of the people at UW-Tacoma and Bothell, that Tacoma and Bothell were really our growth campuses. We have been growing at the edges here on the Seattle campus, but, we're pretty much built up. But the state needs us to educate more students because we want a much larger proportion of students in our states getting 4 years degrees. And Bothell and Tacoma have both been doing an incredible job in that respect. Some of you here may not know, but Bothell is now larger than Evergreen State. It isn't a twiglet anymore. It's not a branch, it has a trunk. And Tacoma is just about that much behind. These really are campuses in their own right that are developing their own identity. Tacoma is an urban serving campus, and they will continue to grow. I think the real issue, and this is something that you really should work with your chancellors on, and they in turn work with us, is how fast. We don't want to grow. One thing that I can tell you is we do not want to grow in a way that endangers our excellence. All three campuses are UW quality and must be UW quality. So work together with your chancellor, they'll work together with us, and both of the campuses will grow, but we want to put them on a sustainable path that allows them to keep excellence every step along the way. Okay, yeah, don't be scared.
President Anna Marie, one of our own, congratulations that you have been very famous in China, because the WeChat, the students have been posting your photos and saying what this new president, the first female president, the first Cuba American president will bring us, and will our international student tuition fee reduce a little bit or not?
Well, I'm going to China in a couple of weeks, so, you know, we'll see.
So my name is Wei. I have been here for 5 years, and I finished my PhD in English this June, and now I work as instructional consultant for UW Center for Teaching and Learning, serve the university just like every one of you have been doing. And I want to pass down some voices that in the last 5 years, I have heard a lot of great things that international students say about their experience here. I also heard sad things. For example, we pay 3 times tuition fees and also $45 of international student fee. Sometimes we feel like a little bit treating as a cash call. Or somebody is saying that flying for 13 hours all the way from China, and then I find about 90% of my classmates are Chinese, just like me. So I know that a lot of effort has been done. The workshops, the faculty have been doing, and all the programs like Cauce ambassadors. But I know it's also a long way as well, because we have been accepting a lot more international students. So I wonder, from the university perspective, what are the more future directions and choices will be done to embrace diversity, including embracing international students and also first-generation minority students, because it's very important for them and for the whole campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I want to emphasize to everybody that our international students are very much a part of the diversity on this campus, and that you bring to this campus a richness of experience that our in-state students learn from. But as I said when I was talking about the Race and Equity Initiative on the stage, we don't get that richness if we don't actually work together, and if we all are in our little spaces. And so that's something that we really are working on. You know that this summer we trialed sending some UW Washington State students over to China in advance to try and advance an ambassador program. We're still trying to look at the effects of that. We also are working harder to make sure that we prepare students so that they can fully engage in the experience. And I have to say, not this year, but not last year, but the year before, I taught my first freshman seminar, and it was on stress and coping. I've taught 2 freshman seminars, one on stress and coping and one on leadership. You figure that out. And because I taught it at 8 in the morning, 8:30 maybe in the morning on Monday, because I wanted to have my teaching experience before the rest of the week kind of, wore at me. And so, no surprise, well, it was a surprise, but afterwards I realized I got a lot of international students, a lot of them Chinese. And I was really, I mean, I've taught, I taught at that point for like 28 years. And I really had, what I looked forward to in the freshman seminar was a lot of discussion. And it wasn't happening, and I was having some difficulties figuring that out. And so I went to the Teaching and Learning Center, and they had some fabulous advice, including, have name tags and actually call people out. And then you get answers, and then one thing builds on another. But students kept stress diaries, and I did read about some of the difficulties that some of our international students are having. And we are working, we're doing a study trying to better understand how to better integrate our international students. Because I think that that's important, not just for the international students, it's important for us. We really want to, you bring the world here to our students, and we want to take advantage of that. In terms of the cost, there are some universities that have, here's what we pay for in-state students, here's what out-of-state domestic students, and here's international students. We don't make a differentiation between international students and students from California. So, and, we can wonder. Or Florida. I mean, just to make it clear, I'm not picking on California. So we don't make those kinds of distinctions. What I think our legislature would say, and they're right, is that our in-state students and their parents have been paying taxes towards. So that's the reason why it is less expensive for in-state students. But I can tell you that we are concerned about, and this year you did not see as rapid a rise in the tuition of out-of-state and international students as you've seen, because we don't want to price ourselves out. And we also are talking, one of the things that I will be talking about when I go to China in a few weeks is how do we develop a system to have some scholarships so that our international students and actually our out-of-state students that are of lower means can come here too. So you bring up some real legitimate concerns. I don't have a, here's the answer, but we're working on it together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if you're interested in reading the 270 page of how do Chinese undergraduate students academic socialization in the U.S. do, that's my dissertation. I will send you a copy. Thanks, everyone.
Send it. See? That's what our students add to the experience. And I've got a long plane ride to China. Make sure I have that dissertation before it. I'm getting the... Okay, let's go eat. Reception at the hub.
My cell phone ran out of juice, and I saw you using it. If I gave you my card, could you just send one or two cell phone pictures that you had of her up there? I'm just on the